Hi, my name is Marie Jackson, and I'm just going to talk about my place-based lesson plan that I put together. So for my lesson plan, I chose to do mine for 4th grade with the idea of civic duty. And I picked 2 different standards for it. So I picked the grade 4, standard 5, civics, government, ideas, civic duty for my lesson plan. For the other standard I chose, I went with an ELA standard. I did write informative / explanatory text to examine a topic and convey ideas and information clearly. Develop the topic with facts, definitions, concrete details, quotations, or other information and examples related to the topic. For my essential question, I chose to do how does a citizen affect change in government? And I chose to take a field trip to the Topeka Capitol building for this lesson plan. I think that this would be a really great opportunity for the students to hear from real life people who work every day in this building and see what they say, how they can, as citizens, affect change in their government. So to go along, the lesson objective I put was, after the field trip, students will be able to write an informative text about how and what a citizen can do to affect change in government. Just to kind of go over quickly what I have for it. So the idea behind this lesson is to have talked about agency and civic duty before taking this field trip, and then to have students have pre-prepared a question before going on the field trip, so that way they are able to ask a question to the tour guide and receive an answer, and then they're to take a notebook and a pencil so that they can take notes as well as they're going along. Let's see. And then the whole lesson, the whole middle of the lesson is talking about with the tour guide on the actual field trip, and then at the very end is when they're going to write that explanatory text. And then I chose to focus my rubric, so my assessments, on the not as well as the social piece, but the writing piece as well, focusing specifically on the ideas around forming their explanatory text, and also focusing on the facts and details that they're given and ensuring that they're accurate. So that's just kind of briefly what we would be doing. So for the purposes and goals of social studies education, I think a huge purpose that we teach social studies is agency, and then giving information about the world around us and increasing cultural competency. So this lesson specifically focuses on agency. That is actually a vocabulary word that is focused on in the disciplinary literacy that is taught in this lesson, is agency and how citizens can take charge of their civic duty and create agency within their government. So for the skills, knowledge, or disposition students will develop from engaging in this lesson, I picked on kind of really the piece of knowledge and the importance of civic duty and what their importance is as a citizen of our country, and what they can do to help change it. So what they can do, how they can do it, where to go, who to talk to, all kinds of different stuff like that that's discussed during the middle of the lesson, during the tour guide, or during the tour portion. And so they're also going to get to see places where change happens, so the executive and the legislative branches, and where they're held. And we'll start to talk about how the branches work together, but focusing specifically on the citizen aspect of it, so on the civic duty of the students once they reach a certain age, and how they can help affect it. And really the big role that's the significance that place plays in this lesson is they're hearing from real life people who work in this building every single day, who work with citizens, who work with legislators, who work with people of the executive branch every single day. And they wouldn't be able to do that if they weren't able to travel to the Capitol. So that is why we chose to take a field trip, or why I chose to take a field trip for this instead of just talking about it in class or bringing in a guest speaker. This way they're able to see the actual building where things take place, and put a kind of a face to a name, putting a place to description, and they're able to learn more of what we had talked about in class before. So kind of what I learned from developing this lesson is like a lot of the like pieces of taking like a place-based lesson, so like specifically a field trip, like things I would have to think about during that, how to get them to think about it while they're on the field trip, like what things can I ask at the beginning of the lesson or the preparation beforehand to make sure that they're still paying attention during the field trip and that they're still learning instead of just taking it as a day off of school. And so how I can prep them in that beginning of the lesson by just simply asking a question, going over things, having them take notes, things like that, so I know that they're engaged during it, and then giving them something to do afterwards to really connect their learning from the field trip that we took, and then removing it and going back into school and connecting it to what we had, connecting it all together and being able to explain to me in their own words what they learned and what agency was, what civic duty is, and the importance of it. So I really liked creating this lesson. I hope you enjoyed as well. Thank you.